What's up, YouTube? Today I got this 2001 Jeep Cherokee. Customers complaining of a spongy pedal. I isolated the rear brake. Wheel cylinders are leaking. I'm going to show you how to replace those wheel cylinders, shoes, and drums. Anyways, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe so I can continue to make videos like this to make your life easier. Let's get started. First thing we're going to do is you want to pull your wheel off, obviously, and then your drum. You just want to wiggle it back and forth. Now, if it doesn't come off that easy, just hit it on the corners, on the back corners with a hammer while you're pulling. Most of the time, they'll come off. You notice the inside of this drum. You can see that how wet it is. Where the brake fluid's been leaking from the wheel cylinder right here into it. I already got my parts, got my new drum. Go ahead and take that out. My new shoes. All right, now this is just the way I do it. There's several different ways to do this, but I'm showing you how I do it today. And I've been doing this for over 20 years, so I'm pretty sure my method is pretty efficient. And if you're going to have to get some rear brake drum tools, you can probably go to any parts store and just tell me you need a rear brake drum service kit. I don't know if it's going to look exactly like this. It might be a style that you have to hook the spring and pull it. But I got this style, which is very convenient. I've had it for years. I'm sure they still sell this style. The number is PAT5455995, patent. That might be able to help you look it up online if you can't find it. But it looks like this. You just screw it in, hook it over the spring and tighten it real good, and then you pull. Just like that. Now what I usually do, so you don't misplace or forget how things go, just setting all the parts on your corresponding sides. The leaf springs make a good rest area for that. Now we're going to pop this other spring off. Alright, just like that. Pull off. It's going to be kind of a booger to unhook it from there, but set it on that side right there. Unhook your little e-brake cable. Without dropping it. It's hooked in that way. Lay it up there because you don't get that with. I got the new hardware kit, but you don't get that with the hardware kit, so don't lose that. Now we're going to take our hold down springs off. Actually, what I'm going to do is take off this spring down here. Just pop it off with a little screwdriver. Take off your little adjuster arm right here, like that. You don't get that either. And you don't get this spring either as well. Just set it the way it goes. You could always use the other side as a reference too. I've already done the other side. Go ahead and wind down your adjuster. Now if these adjusters don't turn, they're locked up and you're going to have to get new adjusters. And that don't come with the kit either. I'm just going to pull back on the shoe. And set that just like it goes, because it only goes one way. If you put it the other way, that adjuster's not going to hit that arm. Now you can take this spring out usually with just your fingers. That goes on the bottom. Alright, now we're going to pull back on the shoes, taking out this part. You don't get that either. Sometimes you'll get that other spring, but yeah, I got it. And these horseshoe clips you get, they don't pertain to this model, nor do these. So we can save those for another car. Those always come in handy. All right, now we can take our hold downs off. I ain't really worried about putting those anywhere because they're the same on both sides. As the shoe falls. Now pay attention because you have a leading and primary and secondary shoe, leading and trailing. See how this one's much shorter? That one goes towards the front. So we'll put it to the right. See how this one's got more surface on it? And it's got the pin down here for that arm. Put that to the left, just like that. Now you don't have to take the spring off in this one, which is a godsend because those springs are hard to get back on. It just hooks into the shoe right here, just like that. All right, now what I like to do is I'll clean this area real good, especially since it's got brake fluid everywhere. Get it nice and dry. Go ahead and get these pins out of here. Replacing them. And as that dries, I'll show you a little trick so you don't lose a lot of brake fluid. Come to your driver's side here and find your brake hose where it leads to the rubber, leads to the steel lines. Clamp it off using a plastic clamp, not nothing metal or vice grips that's going to ruin the hose. That way you don't lose a lot of brake fluid while we're changing this wheel cylinder. So the first thing we're going to do is take this 3/8 line loose, using a 3/8 line wrench so you don't round it off. Just like that. Now you can try a 3/8 regular wrench, but if it feels like it's starting to round off, stop and get you a line wrench. Because once you round that brake line off, you're going to pay hell trying to get it back in. You'll have to replace that steel line if you mess it up too bad. All right, we're out, and that line's been replaced before. I can tell how flexy it is. To see how it's not clamped down like this original line was, so someone's already replaced that line, which that's okay. It's not leaking. So take your 3/8 socket. On the back side of this wheel cylinder, you're going to have two 3/8 bolts. All right. And the other side, get that line out of my way. Okay. What was that? Now the wheel cylinders on this model are the same for both sides. Go ahead and take a little rubber boot off. Push that bad boy in. Now before I put the bolts in, I always like to start the line because you got a little bit of wiggle room. This one's kind of sticking, which is surprising because it's new compared to the other side. That's because it's kind of bent right there, so it was cocked. All right, let's try this again. Pushing back on me. Let me do this. Straighten it out a little bit if I can. Get my wrench here. Line's bent and it keeps wanting to mess with me. Put it on the nut real gently. Just kind of straighten it out. There we go. Being careful not to break the line. You probably won't have this problem on your model. But whoever replaced the line last had it all crooked. Yeah, there we go. That's a little better. All right, let's try this again, y'all. Shouldn't fight it this much if you had the original line in your car. Come on, baby. I think I'm started finally. Sorry about that. It wouldn't have taken me that long had that line not been replaced. Fish your little bolt in there. Started a couple turns. Same with the other side. All right, we in. All right. Don't tighten them too tight. A little, and they'll break and strip out very easily. So, rinse her back in. Just till it's snug. See, it's supposed to go into that little hole right there, or groove, or whatever you want to call it. Whoever replaced this brake line last just didn't do it, but I'm going to do it. Trap it. I'll probably get a zip tie for this video and secure all that for him. Okay, now that I've cleaned off the backing plate, I'm going to take a little bit of hot temp grease and put it on all your contact points to avoid any kind of squeaking. A little bit in your wheel cylinders there. A little bit up in here in the anchor point. That should be good enough. All right. Now, put your brake shoe in there. Grab you a new pin. I'm loving this weather. It's breezy and cool. Fall's coming. Those that work in the heat know how excited we get whenever it starts cooling down. So let's go ahead and slip this guy. Grab the new spring here. Slip that in. Your other shoe, pin, we'll mess around with that after we put that hold down on. That new hold down with that new spring, it's a lot more springy. Get on there. Turn and twist till it locks. All right. Now, as soon as we put on our first spring, it's going to hold the shoes from popping out so far. And these two springs are the same on both sides, which not all vehicles are, but this one is. Hook it into there. Actually, getting ahead of myself. Got to hook it into this guy where your e-brake cable goes. Hook it into there. Into the hole. before you put that on, you need to get your cable, face it outwards, hook like that. Probably wouldn't matter either way. We do it how we took it apart, right, Al? So now, get that seated in there in the hole. We can go ahead and put this one spring on. Go ahead and hook that one. And we can go ahead and hook the other one too, making sure that arm right there is still seated. Take you a flat screwdriver and work that back to give yourself room for the other spring. Okay, making sure it seats. All right. Now, the hard part's over. Make sure you hook your cable in the lip of that. And get your little arm right here. And the spring, like I said, they don't give you in the kit. Put that on first. Now, if you got battle-tested hands like me over the years, you can do that with your hands, not use a flat screwdriver. Now, making sure that's hooked in, push up on your little arm, and just hook that in. Yeah, just like that. I don't think it's going to matter which way you do it, from the back or front. I think the front's a lot easier if you hook it in that way. So that's all seated. Now, take that spring, your bottom one, this one right here, and hook it into this hole right here. With the new shoes I'm going to show you, or the old shoes, they had a little hole right there. See what I'm saying? This one's got a different type of hole. No biggie. It's probably just for universal for a few different models. Hook that in right there. You can do that with your fingers. Take your hole down, spin it back a little bit. Back on that, and back on that. Get your arm to seat on the, hear that click? That's how you adjust it. Now I'll adjust it a little bit. And I'll take my new drum. That's too tight. So we're gonna wind it the opposite way. Hit your shoes a few times to get in the seat. A little less. A little less. Little less. So I'm almost wound it all the way down. Just make sure everything's seated and not messing with you. Because if something's cocked, it's going to give you that impression. There we go, perfect. Just till they're dragging. Just till they're barely dragging. Now we're going to take a 5/16 or 8mm and loosen your bleeder screw. Go over there and unclamp this bad guy right here. Because you ain't going to get no fluid with that clamped off. And you're going to gravity bleed it just for, until you start seeing it dripping for a good 30-45 seconds till you see no more air bubbles coming out. and then it's bled. You won't even have to have an assistant. You shouldn't have any air in the lines as long as it didn't run out of brake fluid. And this didn't. It was still full. It was just starting to leak. We caught it in time before it dragged a bunch of air into the system. So when that starts dripping, you see no more air bubbles, and I'm not going to keep going on. Give it a good minute or so after you start to see it dripping, and as soon as you're free of air bubbles, it's bled out, and just tighten your bleeder screw down. Put your little grommet back on right here to keep dust and dirt from getting in there. It's that simple, y'all, because this might take a few minutes for it to come down the line. So I'm not going to bore y'all anymore. Anyways, I hope this video has been informative. Y'all please check like down below. Please subscribe. Y'all have a good day. Peace out, YouTube.